Tuscany has a lot to offer in terms of art and history, but my favorite way of experiencing culture is through food. We will be sharing our culinary experience. If you are planning a trip to Tuscany, keep watching for suggestions about traditional dishes to try and restaurants not to miss.
Hi guys, so as promised in the other video, we're making sort of a dedicated video regarding the food that we tasted in Tuscany. So I think before we jump into the actual dishes themselves, I think it's worth mentioning the sort of the concept of the Cucina Povera, which translates to poor dishes. Essentially, this comes from the medieval times where sort of people did not have access to particularly expensive ingredients, so they sort of had to make do with whatever they could grow in their own gardens and inexpensive cuts of meat, and this kind of concept of cooking, which even with these very simple ingredients, they were still able to make some really extraordinary dishes. So with that in mind, we can jump into the sort of dishes that we tried. We'll try to divide this in sort of categories of things we tried. So I'll start off with soups. There were 3 that we tried. So first one is Pappa al Pomodoro, which is a tomato and bread soup. Very simple but very tasty. There's also ribollita, which is a vegetable and bread soup, sort of like a minestrone, but not exactly. Again, very good. Then there's another one, Panzanella, which is it's not a soup exactly. It's like more of a cold dish salad, which is served with bread and sort of fresh ingredients like tomatoes, cucumber. So obviously I've served in olive oil and onions, etc. Want to mention sort of like street food, sort of kind of. So one you'll see all around Florence, which in a bunch of places, is this panino con Lambredotto. So Lambredotto is essentially the fourth stomach of the cow. The way it's prepared is it's boiled, sort of to make it tender, and then it's served in a bread roll, which is dipped into the cooking water or stew if you want, and then the Lambredotto is sliced up, placed on the bun, and then served on top with like a salsa verde, a green sauce.
So it's sort of gooey. Needs a lot of chewing. Very salty. There's like a green sauce, slightly spicy. That's good.
Is it good? Yes, it's a bit chewy, maybe a bit gooey, sort of in texture in your mouth, but for me, I enjoyed it. Elaine not so much. But yeah, then the other street food which I enjoyed it a lot is it's sort of like a shop called L'Antico Vinaio. What they do is mostly serve this type of bread called Schiacciata, which is very similar to a focaccia, but not exactly. So you basically get this sandwich, and then you can choose from a super huge variety of cold cuts and cheeses and other things that you can fill it with. Absolutely delicious and great to have on the go. So another must stop in Florence is definitely this place, L'Antico Vinaio, which basically specializes in a focaccia and the different types of fillings. We just went for the Paradiso, which is basically mortadella, stracciatella, and pistachios and pistachio cream, which looks absolutely divine. So we're gonna try it out now.
Yeah, so
Gabriel could not stay away from the panina. What did you get?
so this is a schiacciata, which is the same type of bread similar to what we took at l'Antico Vinaio in Firenze, and it's filled with porchetta, which is a typical thing from Tuscany as well, which is pork mainly, with stracciatella, which is a nice creamy cheese, and pesto, pistachio pesto basically. So let's see.
Good. We can jump to pasta. I would say one very good mention of a specific restaurant we would like to mention is the Osteria Santo Spirito in Piazza Santo Spirito. We tried these gnocchi with truffle and cheese, and they were absolutely amazing. I would say it's after researching sort of this particular restaurant, it's very famous for this dish, and quite notably so, because the first time we attempted to actually visit the restaurant, the queue was literally miles long. We attempted the next day, went there super early to be there early in the queue, and managed to get a table. And I absolutely agree with what we sort of saw online. They are absolutely delicious. Other pasta that we tried from the Mercato Centrale, there's a particular stand called Il Tartufo. They serve these, the type of pasta is called Tagliolini, which is a longish pasta similar to spaghetti, maybe a slightly thinner, but they're also served with Parmesan and Parmesan cheese and truffles. Absolutely extraordinary, very good. Another pasta dish which I forgot to mention actually is Pappardelle al Cinghiale. Cinghiale is wild boar, something also somewhat typical of the Tuscan region. We tried this from a small restaurant next to Ponte Vecchio. It's called Mamma Gina. Again, very tasty. Moving on to meats. I tried on the first night, I remember, a bracciolo di manzo, which is a cut of beef, which was served with tomato and caper sauce. Absolutely very good. Then there's Trippa alla Fiorentina.
So we're trying another typical Florentine dish. This one might be a bit of a tough one. So this one is called Trippa alla Fiorentina, which basically is tripe, which essentially is the cow's stomach lining. Let's see. So, similar to the Lambredotto, which is also a cow's stomach. It's again very chewy. But yeah, I mean the sauce is really good, and it's a good dish.
So Trippa is tripe, which is the lining of the stomach of the cow. We tried this from Osteria Santo Spirito as well. I had never tried tripe before. I enjoyed it a lot. It's again slightly chewy, but it was clearly, I mean, super. It was slow cooked. The meat was extremely tender. The sauce was spot on, and I really enjoyed that. Something definitely worth trying. From Mercato Centrale, I also tried Peposo, which is a beef stew. Very good as well. I tried this from a stand called Il Bollito allo Stracotto. If you're going to the Mercato Centrale, I would definitely recommend to not miss this stand. They not only do this particular thing, they also do a variety of other typical Tuscan dishes, which you definitely, it's a very good, so you can sort of could get a number of dishes there and then. So they have Trippa, they have Peposo, they have la ribollita, so they have lots of Tuscan dishes you can try there. If we're talking about meats, then I think one cannot miss the Bistecca alla Fiorentina. We tried ours from Trattoria Dall'oste. It was amazing. I mean, the thing maybe to keep in mind when trying Bistecca alla Fiorentina is that to have a proper one, it needs to be coming from a particular breed of cattle, which is called Chianina. It's one of the biggest and oldest breeds in the world, which is grown there in the Tuscan region. Typically, you would get a 3-inch high steak, which usually incorporates 2 different cuts in it. Obviously, ideally served medium to rare, but the texture and the feeling of meat melting in your mouth was something absolutely extraordinary. It's something I never had before, and I really enjoyed it. So I would really recommend trying that out.
So I just had dinner, and obviously one cannot come to Florence and not try the famous Bistecca alla Fiorentina, especially myself being a meat lover, so it was definitely on my list. And we chose Trattoria Dall'oste to try it out, and I must say it's amazing. It's when they say that the meat melts in your mouth, it's like superb. I mean.
And I can confirm I am not particularly a meat lover. It's not my the go-to item on the menu, but it really does melt in your mouth.
Yeah, super tasty. I mean, definitely has a certain price tag on it, and to be fair, we also went for a very specific, not cut, but a specific breed of cattle, which is from the area as well. It's called Chianina, but definitely worth trying it out when you're here.
And for dessert, which is my area, they claim they have the best tiramisu, which is very bold of them to claim. It was good, but in my opinion, you have to try the mille foglie. For me, it's better than the tiramisu. It was better.
Yeah, so good tiramisu nonetheless, but definitely not the best.
Yes.
So yeah, try it out.
Other things we tried when we did our day trip to Siena, we tried a particular type of pasta called picchi. You'll see it quite often on menus. It's a long pasta, but extremely thick. It's good, but I didn't particularly enjoy it myself. But it's something very typical of the Tuscan region, so you'll see that on menus. Something we found in Siena as well that I enjoyed a lot was the cecchino. The cecchino is it's basically a schiacciata, which is filled with different types of fillings. I had mine, I remember, with stracciatella and speck and something else. Absolutely delicious.
So before we were interrupted by the drums, Gabriel has an important food message.
So something we discovered here in Siena, it's a typical thing as well. It's called cecchino, which essentially is stuffed focaccia, and stuffed. There's different flavors. And stuffed mine is with speck, stracchino, and mozzarella. Sorry, not stracchino, stracciatella and mozzarella. Very good. Very oily.
Jumping to desserts, I wouldn't say that Tuscany has any particular things about desserts. Some that are worth mentioning, I would say I did try a nocciola gelato with honey and shaved truffles, which was an incredible pairing of flavors. I really enjoyed that a lot. Another typical dessert is vino santo and cantucci. So vino santo translates to like sacred wine. It's a very sweet wine. And cantucci are these almond biscuits, which basically then you dip into the wine and you eat it like that. We did try a couple of tiramisus. One which was quite interesting was from Osteria Santo Spirito as well, which was paired with blueberries, which we found was a very nice pairing as well. Not particularly Tuscan, but it was worth mentioning. Then I would say, considering the extreme heat that we had there, we did actually sample quite a number of gelaterias.
The 314th gelato.
Two that maybe stood out the most was the one at the corner of Ponte Santa Trinita. We used to pass there quite often to catch the bus, and every evening was like a huge queue waiting for ice cream. So definitely that one's worth a try. And there was another very artisanal sort of gelateria, which was situated in the street just behind Palazzo dei Medici. It's very simply called La Gelateria, but we did have some very good ice cream there as well. All in all, I would say if you enjoy food, there's a lot to sample in Tuscany. One dish that I didn't get to try, which I tried but never managed to fit it in, was ossobuco alla Fiorentina. So maybe we'll leave that one for next time. Yeah, it was an amazing culinary experience for me, and with some sort of unusual dishes, but for me it's well worth trying, and yeah, I absolutely enjoyed Tuscany from a food point of view, and yeah, I hope at least this video sort of gives you some kind of pointers sort of what to try. Feel free to sort of comment on the video, ask questions if you want. I think we'll try to sort of list down some of the restaurants and the different things we tried down in the comment section for you to sort of, if you want to try them as well, if you're visiting Tuscany. Well, other than that, I don't have anything left to say, but like and subscribe to the channel, and see you in the next one.
Chin chin. He takes the panina, I take the gelato. Now I'm happy.